Here we go again. Welcome again, PCQIs. On our internal hazard analysis, so we're looking at non-food contact surfaces. This is part of the topic of the hazard analysis. So on this part, with this particular client, I'm looking at scales. They could be table-mounted or in-ground scales, so need to make those observations. These are all potential sources. Cracked hoses. So hoses also touch the ground. So on the particular hoses, I take a look at how they are stored, and do they get clean before storage, right? Because they're the last one to get off the floor. Obviously, they're being dragged on. I've seen plants that don't have them hitting the floor. They're hanging. And you just you pull them and they just wind back up, but there are hoses that are wall mounted and that you have to hand roll them up, so we take a look at those as well. Hollow rollers on equipment, and then equipment framework. We look at wet and hollow equipment as well. They are so they're not too heavy, so there's a lot of open spaces on those. Those are our potential sources. Rust is it's a big one, and open bearings, air filters could be a contributor, especially on the point of contact if they are not well maintained. Condensation pans, motor housings, maintenance tools is one of those, which we're going to touch base on this analysis, but we have it on the list to actually make those recommendations, especially on tools. Forklifts is also one because it's transferring from one place to the other. There's a lot of high touch in there with the controls and obviously the wheels and tires and whatnot. Okay. Hand trucks is another one. This one I've observed in several facilities how people, they borrow each other. They just kind of grab and go. I like to see for the hand truck to be designated in certain zones for it to be utilized. Those are ideal. Obviously, also are made part of the SSOP for them to be clean and sanitized, and also made part of swabbing schedules, as all of these are when we start putting these things together. Hand trucks, trolleys, racks, switches, especially if there's a lot of manual switches for just your basic light system for on and off. The other switches we look at is also the control panels for the equipment, because those are being touched either by hand, by gloved hands, and if there's a malfunction in the system, obviously maintenance will come out. And they start touching things. What does that look like, and what type of protocol do they have? Again, we're going back to the hand washing and gloving and and PPE and all that. Trash cans. Trash cans, they're very neglected. I work on a project where we wrote an entire SSOP on trash can maintenance, changing liners and securing that, making them a part of the clean in place process for that, and including your PPE station. So you have trash cans there, people tend to overlook. They just change the liner. Housekeeping would go around and change those, but it is not on the cleaning schedule where it all starts at that point sometimes. Sanitation tools and equipment, right? So that probably thinking, well, the sanitation, they're cleaning, so they're touching chemicals all day. Well, sometimes sanitation, they know what they're supposed to do, so they try to make everything easier for them to minimize their people from crossing over to the tool shed or their chemical room and whatnot, so they bring everything in. But then when you make an observation, you're looking at that cart that they brought those things in, or those, you know, palletized equipment, if they're rolling them in, it's crossing from different zones. So those are the type of things that as a PCQI, you need to pay attention to that, and ask those questions. Hey, what is our SSOP for that? Or for the, you know, cross, it's a separated function. Are we sanitizing that cart? Do we, you know, are we cleaning it? Because it could be a source. Well, it is a source in my opinion, because if you do the activity and then you come back there and you change your gloves, you know, or you put your hat down, or your, you know, your bump caps, and or sometimes we've seen these carts utilized as, you know, you're just hanging your raincoat on there, right? So all of these drips and condensation and moisture and wetness, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. So obviously you've done your job, and then you go back and you're contaminating yourself, your hands, and then you're going back to that clean process. So keep an eye out on that. Blast freezers, ice makers, and aprons are on that list. We've talked about biofilm in previous videos. We've talked about the ice makers on previous videos. Aprons, obviously, a lot of companies, a lot of our clients, they just have a disposable apron, so they don't have to mess with it, with all of those sanitation. And some of our clients do not. They actually have those aprons that are washable. So make sure those are clean and sanitized prior to that activity, so you don't want it to be the source of the problems. But anyway, so those are some of the tidbits on non-food contact surfaces that that I personally look at and observe and make my observation on. All right, thanks everybody.